My name is Carrie Parmer, and I'm the Director of Oncology Services at St. Peter's Health. So I oversee the medical oncology, radiation oncology, which encompasses the entire cancer treatment center, and I also oversee the inpatient oncology unit, which has 18 beds. Overall, we have about 60 staff that are a part of the whole oncology service line, and I oversee all of that. So radiation oncology, there's a little bit of an addition piece of this, and a lot of it's also a remodel of old space. So the old space used to be medical oncology and where patients got their infusion. Radiation oncology was only a tiny like little office of that whole area, and now it has its own clinic. It has 4 exam rooms and a lot of offices and stuff for our ancillary staff and support staff. This is a kind of a second part, because we remodeled medical oncology and moved them in 2012, and so now radiation got its facelift basically, and so now the whole cancer treatment center is really up to date and really beautiful. One thing I love about the radiation oncology side is the staff really had a huge piece in picking the pictures, picking all of the decor, the colors, the walls, the flooring, and really looking at the space and how it will be best utilized for the patients that they see. A lot of times we have administration do a lot of that, and though I was involved in a lot of it, I love that the staff did it, because they're the ones that are really with the patients and know what flows the best, what the workflow works well for patients.
So I'm Andrew Capino. I'm a radiation oncologist here at St. Pete's. So a radiation oncologist is, by and large, a cancer doctor, and we typically use radiation to treat cancer, as opposed to, say, a medical oncologist who would use chemotherapy to treat cancer, or a surgical oncologist who might use surgery to treat cancer. There's a minority of what I do isn't cancer related, but enough of it is that the job title's oncologist. So we expanded the physical space because cancer care, as opposed to long ago, it has become much more multidisciplinary. So, it used to be, if you got a cancer, you went and you saw your surgeon, and the surgeon cut it out. And if the cancer came back, then you'd go and you'd see your radiation oncologist, and they give it some radiation. And if the cancer came back, you see the medical oncologist, and they give you chemo. And if the cancer came back after that, well, that was it. That's the end of you. Cancer killed you, right? That's not how we do it anymore. Now, from the very beginning, we get everybody involved, and we say, well, what's the optimal way to treat this? Do we use single modality, dual modalities, trimodality therapy? If we're going to use multiple therapies together, which ones comes first? Which ones might we do at the same time? And as the group gets bigger and bigger, you start running into issues where you need to bring in more and more staff in order to ease kind of the interface between these, right? Because quickly patients realize that they've got way more doctors than they ever wanted in their entire life, and they can't keep them straight anymore. They're like, I don't know, I got this doc and that doc and this doc, and I don't know who does what anymore, and everyone's throwing around terms that I don't understand. So we bring in more and more ancillary services to kind of help the patient through not just figuring out who do they need to see and what do they need to do and when does it need to occur, but also some of the support that we know is critical to not just making it through the treatment, but going back to a normal life after you're done. So, a social worker, a counselor, a nutritionist, a speech therapist, a physical therapist. A lot of these really come into play. But where do you put them, right? Do you send the patient all over the hospital? And ideally you don't, right? Ideally everybody comes to the patient. So that's why we built the physical space. It was really just because a lot of the space that we had before was purely functional for the business of medicine, and not so much for some of the ancillary services that we provide that we may not even charge an insurance company for, but nonetheless improve the quality of care, and so we do them. And that's really what most of this space is. Very little of this space is space that, like, I actually need to take care of radiation oncology patients. The kind of things that we couldn't treat before but we can treat now would be, say, a medically inoperable early stage lung cancer, or limited metastatic disease to the brain. So some of these are situations where really the evolving national standard of care came up in the past few years, and we didn't have the equipment. Nobody at the time was really looking forward to say, we need to be poised to be in a position so that when this becomes this national standard of care, we're well equipped to deliver it. And so it fell to me when I started here to say, well, we're falling behind on the curve, we need to catch up. And so we did. So when we think about the new department, I think about it as the clinic space over here, and then I think about it as administrative space down there. And that is probably a 50-50 split. This is sort of a procedure room, a little bit more space, more storage space. This is where if we need to do something slightly more invasive, we can do it. Yeah, these are like educational touch screens. So, to really understand what's going on, it's best if people know what they have and how they're doing it and what's going on. So for instance, right, a seed implant for prostate cancer. We can help describe exactly what's going on so that patients have a better comprehension of what it is we're doing instead of speaking about things in a very abstract sense. So, you have to give an anatomy lesson and teach them about different devices that we use. And this is one of our tools for doing so. This is kind of the rest of the clinic with more examination rooms. We built this so that it would last quite a while. So it's much larger than a single radiation oncologist really needs. And it becomes useful when we have other people seeing the patient at the same time. So that, I can see a patient, then afterwards, say, the nurse can give them counseling, or a nutritionist can come, or the nurse navigator can come. And it doesn't matter because I have plenty of other clinic rooms to use. So we can run multiple people through the clinic. This room is specific to head and neck examination. So instead of a classic table, we've got a chair. The equipment in here is specific to looking at cancers that develop from kind of the nasal sinuses and nasopharynx all the way down through the larynx. This is where all the action happens in radiation, because our job is mostly physics and computers. So that's why there's like a big office with tons of computers. So the physicist, the dosimetrist, etc. A lot of us will hang out in here and get the actual work done. Before this got remodeled, the clinic was this. This was the entire clinic. So we had the treatment console with the machine inside this vault. Physics and dosimetry were in here. Physician office was back there. We had 2 clinic rooms, and the nurse sat on a desk in that corner. And then we had the bathroom. And that was the entire clinic. And so you could see how patients spend an awful lot of time crashing into each other in this kind of intersection here. PET-CT, which is used for diagnostic purposes and is really a piece of equipment for radiology, is shared with us, where we also use it for planning out radiation. And that whole suite is kind of back here. So we keep the sources in here. If we need to cut custom blocks for radiation, we do it with some special equipment in there where we melt interesting metal alloys. So we need a vent and a hood. The fumes cause cancer. And then those 2 rooms are where patients who are getting diagnostic PET scans wait to see where the FDG goes, and then the actual scanner's way back there. This is the treatment console. So this is how our therapists operate the machine and monitor the patient inside. So this is the new vault. You want to show her around, Matt? Want to explain everything?
So yeah, this is our treatment machine. It's called a linear accelerator. It's made by Varian. It's the true beam model. This is our table that everybody lays down on, moves up and down. Up, down, in and out, left, right. Even angles, if you want to angle it. This way we can treat patients with a variety of different angles, decreasing their side effects and whatnot, and decreasing the harm to the surrounding organs. The machine rotates 360 degrees and bring the imaging arms out. So these two arms on the side are fairly high quality x-ray that we can do, or we can even do a CT scan on this machine. It's kind of a low grade CT scan, but revolutionary in this field, being able to see organs inside the body or see tumors inside the body that we can match to, zero in on, and treat very tight constraints and very high doses of radiation. Lasers we use to line people up in the same position every day for treatment. We put little tattoo marks on them, and then we line them up to our lasers that intersect. You can see on the wall how they intersect, or you can see when I do something like that where they intersect on my skin. So we'll like line up the tattoo right where those lasers intersect, and that's how we get somebody in the same position every day. I can even open this up a little bit. It's kind of high-tech looking stuff in there. All kinds of parts. I mean, thousands of parts in this thing, and it's actually amazing how well this machine works, considering how many parts it has, that it virtually never breaks. I mean, our uptime is in the high 98, 99% uptime on this machine. So it works really efficiently, doesn't break very often. We do have some devices that we use to help immobilize patients for treatments. I have like a mask that we put over somebody's head, helps hold their head still for treatments. Or a mask that goes over their head and shoulders. Usually somebody we're treating the neck on, do that for. Or we even have, take this off real quick. We would have, this is a setup for where we do the radiosurgery in the brain. So the actual very targeted high dose radiation treatments in the brain, they'll go in a mask like this. This is kind of a laser QA device. So you line it up under here with the crosshairs, and then you drop it down to line up the other way. So I'm lined up this way, so then I take it and I flip it this way. And then I line up my lasers this way. So this machine rotates around this spot evenly all the way around. This is the center of where this machine treats. So then another way I'll QA my lasers is to move this to the side, and it'll drop down a laser from the top. So all of these lasers want to be intersecting at the exact same spot. So we check that every single day to make sure they do intersect perfectly. This one's kind of cool. This is something that we started doing with the new machine. But this simulates a breathing pattern for us. So we put this little block on here, and this simulates the patient breathing on the table. This camera right here watches how much this block moves. So if this block is sitting on somebody's chest, it's saying, hey, their chest is moving this much. while they're being treated, so we know how deep of a breath they're taking or not. So therefore we can have somebody hold their breath and have a really reproducible breath hold for a breast treatment or a lung treatment or something to that effect.
Now, if you look way out on the edge, see those little metal things? And see this light field? There's two different blocks that occur in here. Those little metal things are the leaves, and then the primary jaw is what created this light box. We actually have to pull up a patient treatment plan in order to show you the rest of it. But yeah, so each one of those things can move independently of all the rest. And so that's how we create the custom fields.
But what we got with this machine was the ability to have the beam running while this thing rotates.
Okay.
So it rotates around the patient and delivers the treatment at the same time.
All those little leaves are moving.
Yeah.
So you have a constantly changing field size and a constantly changing angle. And then the new thing coming out is going to be, so right now the assumption is that there's a point in the body that everything just rotates around. We're going to start unlinking it from a point in the body, and then the table will move and rotate as well. So now I can rotate this, I can rotate this, I can change the field size, I can rotate it, and I can shift the table and rotate it so that you can kind of carve around things in weird angles. So that's the next big thing that's going to come. We took advantage of the fact that if we change the way we do things here, we can treat more patients and give them a benefit, whereas before they weren't seeing that benefit.